Hey everyone, I'm super excited today to have with us a very special guest for Founder Stories. Today we have the absolute honor to host somebody that has become a very dear friend and is building an awesome company. Today we have Guy. Guy is the founder of a great company called Healthee. And Healthee recently changed their name from a previous company called Storiez, and we'll get into why they changed their name and the branding behind that. But besides that, Healthee is solving for a very crucial problem that most companies are going through, and they're doing incredible work and growing phenomenal, growing exponentially, and growing very quickly. Now, besides that, I'm super excited to hear Guy's personal story, who he is, how he becomes a better person, the thoughts that he wakes up with in the morning that motivate him to go throughout the whole entire day. But besides being a founder and CEO, Guy has a much better job and a more lucrative one, which is the father to three beautiful children, a husband to a great wife, and he's just an all-around super nice guy. I had the opportunity to hang out with him multiple times. And every single time I hang out with him, I come away walking out with something new. So I'm excited to bring Guy to the public, to everybody else. So I am not going to be selfish anymore and just learn myself, but we're actually going to take his wisdom and spread it around to everyone too. So Guy, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Brian.
You're welcome. And it's an absolute honor. And I'm so grateful that we're able to do this so the world could get to know how awesome you are.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
So let's start off. I want to start off. And, one of the things I recently found, that one of the things as a founder specifically, everyone goes through difficult challenges and difficult times. And a lot of times we're always measuring against where we want to go instead of looking back and seeing how far we've come so far. So I want to start with, what are you grateful for today?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, I'm very grateful about everything I have, right? My family, my friends, and honestly, the company, right? Like, I think we were able as a team to really bring something that is meaningful. Like we're doing something that helps people be healthier. What's more important than your health? And the fact that we are able to not just come up with an idea, but now have actual users and people using our product and becoming healthier thanks to what we are doing is something I'm grateful for every day, right? Like this, again, something that, people always think about their health as, it's one of the most important things, but it's also very private, right? Your health issues are something that's very private to you. And the fact that people are willing to come to our product, use it, ask questions, personal questions about their health, their mental health, their well-being, get answers and act based on what we're showing them is a testament to, the fact that we're probably doing something, that's working, and we probably hit a nerve that there's, the lack of understanding of your health and wellness benefits is apparent. And the fact that the world of health and wellness is overwhelming is apparent. And, we have a product that it's still in the beginning, right? The product where it is now, it's in a great place, but it's going to become so much better. But even now at the beginning, we just came to market, last quarter. There's already people that are getting value from it. And I'm excited about the value that we will bring in the next quarters with more people, more features, more opportunities. So I'm not just grateful about what we have now, I'm also grateful about what's coming next. As a company, we just had a milestone with one of our biggest customers, and we took a minute and we met as a team, across the ocean over Zoom, and took a moment just to acknowledge the fact that we're so lucky to be in this place today after, not that much time, like a year. The company's only been around less than a year. So, and we talked about how grateful we are, but also how excited about what's coming next.
It's amazing. And I wish people could see this. And some people will if they watch a video. When you talk about your product, to see how your face just lights up and how passionate you get and your voice starts picking up and how excited you are about the problem you're solving for. having that positivity, having that optimism is amazing. But why do you get into something? Why create something specifically within the healthcare space? Now, what is it within your own version, your own story, that motivated you in order to go down this route of not becoming an entrepreneur, which we'll get into soon, but more specifically about creating something within the wellness space?
Yeah, so it's a lot of it is about like my own experience, right? When I moved to the U.S. from Israel, and got my first job here at McKinsey, a consulting firm, I realized neither myself nor anybody around me knew anything about our health and wellness benefits, and it just drove me crazy because I was like, again, what's more important than our health? And every time I would ask HR, hey, what am I covered for this or for that? And sometimes you don't even want to ask HR, right, about like personal issues. They would tell me to call a call center. And that call center is always either you don't have time to call, or you're calling and you're on hold and they're not even always giving the best answers. And I thought, well, this feels so archaic. This feels so, right, like 1985, or when we had to call people. And today there's so much technology around us every day, right? Like we call a car on our phone without talking to anybody. We check our bank balance without going to the to the actual bank or calling somebody. So how come do we still need to call another person, to talk about our most important, our most important benefits, which is our health benefits? So I was like, okay, there has to be a different way. There has to be a way to harness technology to do this. And when I looked deeper into it, I realized it wasn't just me as an immigrant that doesn't know what they're covered for. It's a national problem. 70% of Americans say they don't know what they're covered for. 66% of them delay or avoid treatment because they're not sure if they're covered for it. And for me, that's just insane that in 2022, this is still happening. Which is why I said, okay, look, I'm not a healthcare guy. I've never worked in healthcare, but I did work in bringing new technology to old processes. That's what I did at McKinsey my entire time there. I thought, okay, let's bring new technology to this the healthcare space and help employees be healthier. So that's kind of like how I got to healthcare. It was really my personal experience, but also the fact that I was able to identify a problem that needed a solution, and also find great team members that had the same passion about it as mine, right? Like I have amazing partners, Ben and Ben, who are as passionate about this as I am, and we were fortunate enough to find each other.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing, because like you hear, essentially you're trying to solve for your own pain point, your own experience, your own pain point. But you also said that you didn't have any experience in healthcare. So you have this idea. It's great. You experience this, like, okay, you're like, shoot, what am I going to do? What am I covered for? And what is the rest of the world covered for too? But how do you compensate for that lack of experience within healthcare and decide, what, let's go? And what was your steps over there in a sense to compensate for that, and your steps to actually going ahead and building it?
So I think, first of all, we surround ourselves with experts. And, there's 40 of us now, not including more advisors and that we have as well. And they're all from this world, right? Like our head of sales had 14 years experience in working in Blue Cross Blue Shield. All of our data teams used to work in Kaiser and other health insurance companies. So I think the fact that we come with less experience, it's actually an advantage, because we come in with a different perspective. I think that the fact that we can say, hey, why is this done this way, and not, oh, this is the way it's always been done, and not take that as an answer, is an advantage for us. And our team is comprised of, there's 40 of us, a little less than half are in Israel. They never had this problem. And they are the ones who are coming in with those technical solutions that are able to fix things that have been going on for years the same way, right? Like we bring in a very, very different perspective on healthcare that I think nobody is. And that's maybe because they've been, with this problem for years, and that's how they grew up. That's how they are used to it. We're not used to it. We're coming in with a very different perspective. And I think that's to our advantage. Now, obviously you need experience, which is why, again, we brought all these experts around us. But I think the core innovation is going to always come from somebody who's not used to the way it is now.
Yeah, it's a whole component of being able to operate from first principles.
Yeah.
And the experience from various industries and outside, like you mentioned, gives you that fresh perspective over there.
Mm-hmm.
So then
Yeah.
what surprised you the most so far in your entrepreneurship journey, but also in the aspect of building and seeing how the healthcare space is? Because the healthcare space in America is, first of all, very, very regulated and so much
Right.
bureaucracy. So you're really like taking the whole entire industry and you're upending it and flipping it upside down.
Yeah. So I'll talk about the second thing first. I think about the healthcare. What I'm seeing is that it's mostly around transparency. The fact that people don't know what they're covered for. They don't know how much something's going to cost. They don't know where they can go get it done. They don't know how to get reimbursed. You can see the common thread here is they do not know. And where we come in is we bring in that knowledge and bring in that transparency and accessibility, right? Our platform, it's very simple to explain what we do. It's very hard to do behind the scenes, but it's very simple to explain. Think about if you would be able to know what you're covered for, know which doctor you can go see, how much the doctor is going to charge you, and book an appointment all within less than 30 seconds and not talk to another person because it's all in your phone and your fingertips. That's exactly what we do. We make healthcare and wellness benefit accessible 24/7, anywhere, anytime, right? And that's in a nutshell what we do. The way we do it is more complicated because we have to take all your health benefits, we have to take all your insurance plans and analyze them using complicated AI algorithms and put them in a database that is accessible, and then provide you a user experience that is not me calling to a call center trying to figure out, but it's actually very intuitive, asking a very specific question. I have back pains. What am I covered for? First of all, let's see your options. And that's exactly what we do, right? Like if you ask our platform, which her name is Zoe, I have back pains. What am I covered for? She'll give you all of your options right away, instantly, including the ones your employer provided, including the ones your insurance provides. And then she doesn't stop there. She'll let you know about how much each one's going to cost, where you can go get it done. Soon you'll be able to book appointments. Soon you'll be able to order prescription drugs. Like there's really no one platform where you can do all this, and that's exactly what we do. But again, the lack of knowledge, the lack of transparency, I think that's the first, there's a lot of things that are broken in the healthcare system, but that's one of them that we're focusing on and are fixing, honestly. Like I used to say we're trying to fix, and now I can say we're fixing because we're already seeing it. We're already seeing, as I talk to you now, there are people on our platform asking questions about different medical situations that if we weren't there, they would be either have to call a call center and try to find answer, or then go to somewhere else or call a doctor. And we solve that. We're solving that now.
Wow. So interesting point just came up into my mind right now when you mentioned everything that you've built until now and everything that it's doing. You didn't start off like that, right? So what was your first MVP product in order to test the hypothesis? Because I'm assuming you didn't go ahead and start building a whole entire AI algorithm that's able to, make the whole process simple and able to automate it. What was your first the MVP that you built in order to test it?
So the first one was very, very straightforward. We just took your health plan and try to answer very basic questions and see if people even need that type of platform, or if they're, for some reason they're happy calling a call center. And we saw that there were more questions we anticipated. People felt more comfortable going to our platform and asking sometimes very personal questions, right? Like mental health questions. Sometimes you don't want to ask some medical condition to either a call center person, or sometimes you have to ask your HR, right? Some companies, you have to go to HR, and can you imagine going to HR and saying, hey, what am I covered for mental health? Like nobody wants to do that. So we kind of noticed that there's definitely a willingness to use a platform like this. There's definitely a need because people just don't know what they're covered for. But also there's that need, right? Like it's more than a need. It's more, as the workforce changes, expectations are changing, right? Like people are now expecting for you to be able to order a car on your phone, and they want to know where the car is. And then they order a package. They want to know where it is. It's all digital. It's all instant. Calling somebody just feels not natural anymore, especially for people who are more tech savvy. And I think that that's something we came on to really quick, where It's not just because we have competitors that are basically providing you a better call center, and they say, hey, don't call the insurance company because that's an ordeal by itself. Call me, I'll give you a better call center. But the reality is that nobody wants to really call anybody. They want a solution that is instant, that is there, that is digital, like basically a digital door to all their health and wellness benefits.
So who's answering those first questions when people are logging onto your first version of your platform and asking those questions instead of calling the call center, right? So who's answering those questions?
So in the first version, it was able to answer very basic questions, and then whatever it didn't answer, we would answer over email or instantly. But again, it was a very first version. Now we're seeing that most of the questions are just getting answered by Zoe immediately. By the way, the ones that are not, and there are ones, right? When we just had the other day, somebody asked a question about a very rare syndrome that doesn't even show up in your health plan. And what happened is that Zoe basically said, hey, this one I don't know, but I have a whole team of experts that are going to look into it and get back to you in the next day. And we did. With the team of experts, researched, reached out to whoever they needed, and then found what is the coverage for that specific rare syndrome, and then let the user know. Again, he didn't have to talk to anybody. They got it. It was all digital. But then what they also did is they taught Zoe how to answer that question next time. So every time Zoe doesn't answer the question right, she learns from that team of experts and then gets better, right? So her accuracy actually increases every question that she gets.
That's amazing. It's amazing, and to see the growth. I mean, you came out of stealth mode. You raised, I think a little over $20 million from day one,
Mm-hmm.
which is a phenomenal amount of money, also from a bunch of great investors. And you went ahead and you started working on this, and to see the growth that you've done until now, it is, the past year and a half, and the customers that you're acquiring and going to acquire is absolutely incredible until you see the market making.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right. Like, I think we raised a lot of money because the problem is so apparent, and I think we have a very strong team. And I think investors saw that. I mean, one of our investors is Group 11, which is an amazing investor that is trusting us with these resources to go and fix a problem that everybody's aware of. Like I represent the company in many, many different events, and there's not a single time where after I go on stage and talk about what we do that people don't come up to me and say, hey, where do I sign up? Nobody ever told me, no, I don't need something like this. I know exactly what I'm covered for, or I know exactly everything about my health and wellness benefits. It's the opposite. And I think that fact kind of really helped us, first of all, raise enough money to go and be focused on execution. And that's what we're doing now. And also the customer, right? Like we only started with this product, I would say late last quarter. And, so 3 months ago, and we were at two customers that were two employer groups that were willing to give it a try. We're now 10x that, right? So in 1 quarter. And it's amazing to see because there's a need. Now we're kind of like trying to meet demand and seeing how we're going to do that. Like we need to expand even more. But there's definitely really good momentum. And I think people can relate to the problem. And they're looking for solutions. And we're an innovative solution that there's nothing like it out there.
100%. So I want to take a turn, and you were in the military for 14 years.
Yeah.
You led a squadron. You were a fighter pilot, and I was able to participate. I was grateful enough to participate in a few of your company events, hang out with your company, hang out with your employees, your team members, and really be able to see the culture that you built. It's and you continue to build because it's a constant evolution. It's an evolutionary process. And to see how people are communicating within your team and how people are hanging out together, and people are integrating their family life into the company too, where everyone knows each other. So what are the principles you took from the Army in order to create this incredible team? But also, like, besides obviously what you learned from the Army that prepared you for building a startup, now I want to touch upon also on the process of culture building and the way you're going about it.
Yeah. So first of all, I think in the Air Force, where we're always are taught on is be very mission driven, right, and mission focused. And focused on execution and how to get to the mission, right? Like you go on every mission and you know exactly what you need to do, and you do whatever it takes to get it done. And I think what I'm seeing now with my employees is that they all know the mission. Our mission is to help employees be healthier, and everything we do is focused on that. And we always think, okay, is what we're doing now, is that going to help employees or our customers be healthier? And I think the fact that we have this joint mission where everybody can relate to, because they're all potential customers, right? They're all users. They've all experienced the complexities of the healthcare world. And they come in and they say, okay, this is what I do. And they can explain to their families, hey, what do you do? Well, I help employees be healthier. I help make health and wellness benefit more accessible. I think that really helps. And, again, back to the Air Force, very mission driven. We're very, very mission driven. We're very, very people oriented in our mission, in our helping people, and also in the people of the company. I think one of the things that I'm super proud of is that we were able to hire an amazing team. Every person of our team, the 40 people, every one of them is exceptional. And I know everybody says that, but I truly believe it. I am lucky to work with people like with the people I work with every day. And you saw, you came to a few events. You see, they love working together, and they are all collaborating every day. And by the way, every time we have a new employee comes in, one of the things they always told me is like, wow, I'm amazed how collaborative this team is. How I came in and everybody embraced me, but also everybody's helping. Just today we had a launch of a large customer, and everybody came together from Israel, from here, and every department to make sure that this launch is flawless. And it is, and it's going great. And it's because of that mission focused and the fact that we're people oriented. So that's kind of like the culture I'm trying to instill.
So you mentioned, I love the fact that having sort of that North Star, that mission focus where everyone's around, and, higher purpose, something that is bigger than everyone else. As the company's going to evolve, as you're going to grow, you mentioned, you started off with a few co-founders, and all of a sudden you have 40 people. Next thing you know, by year's end, you had 100 people. And then you got 100 and the culture is going to evolve, and obviously you're going to have to learn along the way how to upskill the culture and make the culture process better. Which essentially goes back to your own leadership principles and your own framework for decisions and everything around it, which are what?
Yeah. So again, I'm very mission driven. Like every decision I make, and I have, sometimes I have to make decisions. There's not that many decisions every day that are super important, but the ones that are, I always think about, is this going to serve our mission or not? And, that's one thing. The other thing is I always think about our people, right? Like, the fact that we need to work hard, but we can't burn out our people. Like, I always like to take a pulse on where we are as a team. And, again, one of our values is to be obsessed about impact. And we are obsessed about impact, but we also are very, people driven, and we want to make sure this is sustainable for people, and we want to make sure that people, they want to be part of the company, and for that you have to be careful of how much you push your team, and that's something I'm always thinking about. Are we pushing too hard? Are we too obsessed about impact? One of our other values is also to always think as a founder. And that's something I try to always instill in the people that I work with. Like, you are a founder. Like, you need to think about it. Like, you joined a company that was nothing when you joined, and now it's something. So you're part of the founding team. And I always kind of give them the autonomy to make decisions based on what they're working on. Again, based on the values and the mission. Like, I'm not micromanaging anybody. I'm giving them, my role is to find the best people I can, give them the resources they need, and sometimes get out of their way. I'm not a marketing person. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not an R&D person, right? But I have the vision. I can give them the guidance, but I can't tell them what to do, and I can take decisions for them. So I think one of the things that I try to do the most, and I think people appreciate, is give them that place to make decisions. Also, with managers, I believe that when they come to me with problems, it's not because they're looking for a solution every time. They're just looking for somebody to talk about the problem with, somebody to give them a different perspective. Um, my head of sales, she has a ton of experience. Sometimes she'll have bottlenecks and we'll talk about it together, but the solutions will come from her. I may be, help her kind of facilitate how to get to that solution. But at the end of the day, that I have a really good team that can get to the solutions, and I just give them the resources they need.
Now, are some of these principles stuff that you took from your Army career and brought it into here?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you think about in the Air Force, right? Sometimes you send somebody to a mission and they're 1,000 miles away, and you're not there with them, and they need to make decisions based on what they're seeing in where they are, and it happens. It happens more often than you think. Like when you go on a mission, and you're the one making decision. That sometimes you have to go back and you have to explain why you took that decision, and if you have a good logic behind it, it's fine. Sometimes it's not the right decision, or somebody else would take a different decision, but you were there. You were the one that took all factors into considerations and took the decision. That's fine. I want people to feel empowered to make decisions. I don't want them to come to me with every small decision that they need to make.
That's the testament of a true leader is someone that doesn't create followers, but someone that creates other leaders. That's a true leader. But in the startup world, especially when every team member wants to have some type of autonomy, and it can be autonomy within some type of applied framework. But when you mentioned before, measuring if you're pushing too hard or not pushing too hard, or measuring for impact, how do you actually measure for that?
Yeah. So look, we have very clear KPIs for the company. They're around number of users, they're around engagement, they're around enrollment. That's kind of like how we measure impact, right? Accuracy, how many people mentioned that they had a good experience with our platform versus not. NPS scores. We're very, very data driven. It's not kind of like a high level thinking, or is this like, we're very, very data driven. One of our values and principles is to be user based and data driven, right? Like I think one of the things that I really like about our company is that we're not in love with the solution. We're in love with the problem. And we are just passionate about getting more employees to have transparency about their health and wellness benefits. And that means that, we could have a million ideas for features, but if they're not user driven, if they're not being asked by our users, maybe they're probably not the right ones to focus on. And that's something we are always talking about. I mean, we're still a small company, only 40 employees, tackling a huge problem. There's a ton of features that we want to bring into the system. It will take time, but we have to prioritize. We have to prioritize based on data, based on user experience, user interviews, what we're seeing from our users, and that's how we kind of measure what to do, when, how many resources to put in and everything. Right? We have a new VP product who's amazing, and one of the things that she's always thinking about is prioritization, because she knows exactly how the product is going to look in 2 years, but she needs to think about the next quarter, where I'm going to allocate resources for the next quarter, so the one next after that. And there's a very clear roadmap. But again, the product today is not even close to what it will be in a few months.
That whole entire prioritization is so difficult, especially when you think there's a lot of times shiny objects can come along your way, and you can be like, wait, if we just do this and that, maybe we'll be able to make a little more revenue there or acquire more customers there. To really stick to the product roadmap is one of the most difficult things, and especially when you're in the startup world right now, where every company is raising a ton of money, right? And everybody's like, and you're trying to build this out, and you see a company in a similar space raises $100 million, and like no customers, no nothing yet, and you're like, wait, why can't I raise that money? And to really stay focused to what you want to do is so challenging.
Yeah. No, I agree. And there's shiny objects every day, Brian. Like, it's just this morning we had like a discussion about a feature that we really want to add, and we have to wait because, again, it's a shiny object. It will be great, but all in due time.
Really, it's all about prioritization. It's
Yeah.
so someone that's come from a career in consulting, and from McKinsey, from the Army, McKinsey, and then obviously start the startup. You know, McKinsey has a very specific way of thinking. The McKinsey method everyone talks about. Was coming to start up a new learning curve in the sense you had to upend everything you learned until now, or just some applied principles that you're able to take with you? Because you're coming from a corporate world that has bureaucracy and everything else to something that, like you mentioned, you had to make a decision today. Do I create the shiny object, or do we stay, whatever else it may be? And every day you're making new decisions. Like you could have, like today, I'm sure you probably had 20 tasks, and then all of a sudden you had a bunch of chaos that came along your way. You had to make additional 20 decisions, everything.
Right. Yeah. So the answer is, first of all, yes. Everything I learned at McKinsey is very applicable to what we're doing now, but it's a very, very different environment, right? McKinsey is a very corporate. I used to work with a very large company that it takes time to execute. I also remember I consulted. I didn't make decisions. Sometimes it's much easier to make suggestions than decisions. And here I need to make decisions, make them fast, and live with them, right? Basically. So that's kind of like one of the biggest differences. But yes, McKinsey is an amazing school, but I've learned so much. But at some point, I thought like, okay, I need to graduate and go. And I was ready to kind of go do something of my own. But the lessons I've learned from McKinsey, from working with amazing, the smartest people in the world as my colleagues, and amazing CEOs that I work with, and senior leaders, I've learned so much that I use every day. But again, it's a very, very different operating model. It's a making decision and not suggesting, and it's different. I've learned, I've been doing this for a year now, and I've learned so much during this year that it feels like almost like I left like 5 years ago, honestly.
What are some of the things that you learned?
Just around how to manage people like in a very intense environment like a startup, how to deal with how to fail fast. I think in startups you have to be very scrappy, and you have to try, fail, try again. Where in corporate you have to, sometimes I always give the example of, you have to go and plan a plane, design it for a few months or even years, come try it out. Here you have to build a plane while you're flying it. That's kind of like the startup mentality. And I've learned so much on how to just try, fail, how to learn from failure, go try again. And it could be small things as just like marketing ads that we do and see what works, what doesn't, features that we're applying and see what works, what doesn't, how to hire people. Not all the hires I did were perfect fit for the company. Hiring 40 people is quite a large task, and I've learned a lot. Like if I've known today if I've known 6 months ago what I know today, there's probably things I would have done differently. But definitely I'm learning every day.
As part of the process. So what have been some of your biggest obstacles?
I think one of a few of our obstacles was on finding the right people, and I think we're now at a really good. We still have a few more open positions, but finding the right people. I think it was communicating what we do, because it's so innovative and so different than what people are accustomed to. They're accustomed to calling the call center, and the fact that they could have like a tool like ours, it's hard to really understand what's even behind the tool. It's hard to understand all the different work that goes into building a tool like this. So one of our biggest, I would say, challenges is trying to figure out how to communicate, how to explain the value in a world that is so antiquated and also so labor intense, right? And we come in and we say, hey, no, you don't have to call anybody. You have everything here. That's a challenge. And I think the last thing is probably, when you think about, we sell to HRs, and HRs are super busy, super overwhelmed. There's a research that shows that I think 50 or 60% of HRs say they're overwhelmed or understaffed. And for us to come in to even get their time, even though it's such an important topic, right? Employees' health. What's more important than employees' health and having healthy employees? Sometimes we need to deal with different priorities that they have, right? Like, and that's the reality, right? I mean, we've seen, it's interesting because when I talk to CEOs, they're all on it, right? Like, yes, I want this for my employees. And sometimes when you talk to HRs, they say the same, but there's like, but at first I need to do this and that and that. And the reality is that your employees' questions about their health benefits is only increasing. And even if you don't see it as an employer, they're there. And I think providing healthcare to your employees doesn't mean that you provide access to healthcare. And that's exactly where we come in.
It's funny because everyone's talking about, every company talks about culture. Every company talks about, providing the best balance and the best, system for employees, for team members to thrive. But at the same time, HR, which is responsible for all this, always has the most bottlenecks, which is, like you mentioned, completely understaffed and they completely
right.
There's no money to fund the tools they want to bring in.
Right.
It's like a real hypocrisy over there.
Yeah, no, it's HR have so much on their plate, and what I do notice about HR is they always want to do better, right? They're like so committed to the employees of the company and of making sure that the employees have a good experience, but they're just overwhelmed. And I understand it. And sometimes I'll go to HR and I say, look, yes, health benefits super important, but talk to me in a few months because I'm now underwhelmed with something else. And priorities, that's kind of like the thing that we need to kind of help them understand that employees' health is not going anywhere. It's always there. And the sooner you bring a solution like ours to the company, the better, because then your employees will have something to help them with. Especially if you're overwhelmed, then your employees definitely don't have anybody. And by the way, HR are not healthcare experts. They are not supposed to be. And that's kind of like we come in as an extension of their team, basically.
Yeah, I love that. Like, you're not healthcare experts. And I can only imagine the types of questions that they do get from people that are referring to the healthcare there. You recently went through a rebranding. The company started off as Storiez, now it's called Healthee. Why did you go through that?
Yeah, because we realized that it's too narrow, the world of insurance, because today employers provide employees not just healthcare from their insurance company, they provide a ton of different other benefits like mental health benefits, fertility benefits, dietitian, everything that is around the health and wellness. So when we come in, we don't just say, hey, we're going to be a platform to help your employees decipher their health benefit, their healthcare plan. We say, hey, we're going to give them a digital door to all their health and wellness benefits. So, employers may have 20 different vendors that they have to deal with for all these other benefits, but the employee should only have one place where they can come in and they can learn about the benefits. By the way, our platform not only answers questions, she also reaches out to employees to let them know about different benefits. So the HR doesn't have to go through all these campaigns to let people know about things that they then forget. With us, HR can just say, hey, ask Zoe. And Zoe, which is our platform, can let you know about all the different benefits that you have, employer provided, insurance provided. And that's kind of like we said, okay, healthy. And then, we spell it with 2 E's at the end because healthy employee is, that's our mission. And that's what we're trying to solve for. And our logo, it looks like a rainbow, but it's actually a ripple effect. And it's a ripple effect because we say that if you have healthy employees, you have a healthy company, you have a healthy society, and it kind of affects everything. The healthiness of your employees really can ripple to everything. And that's why we chose that logo and that name.
I mean, I can also imagine you chose the name because, if you wanted to buy the domain name Healthee, it was definitely not available or very, very expensive.
Yeah, that's true. But again, if you connect healthy with the 2 E's, that's kind of like healthy employee. I think it makes sense.
And I also like the point you mentioned that everything's a ripple effect because if someone's healthy, it doesn't just have an impact on the company, but like you mentioned, it has an impact in society where it's impacting their family too. So it's a ripple effect that's a full circle aspect where they're excited to go to work in the morning. They're excited to come back home and be there for the family. They're excited to participate in society and the community to make a bigger impact. So essentially one big, massive, like you mentioned, circle that's going around and around and around that's going to make the world a better place.
Exactly. That's it's something that's not. It's always kind of like when you say people look, where are you? But we are trying to make a world a better place by helping employees be healthier. It's not only employees; it's their employees, their families, everybody.
Like you mentioned, it's the mission. That's your North Star. We're here
Right.
and the product could be, and it could go multiple ways, whatever way it goes. But your North
Mm-hmm.
Star is essentially to order, like you mentioned in the beginning, to create better benefits for people. And when you create better
Yeah.
benefits for people, so it's creating better benefits for society, and better benefits for the world, where the world becomes better. Incredible.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, what do we tell a young guy that is a young child, 21, 22, leaving university, facing the world for the first time, that has so many incredible opportunities in front of him, could do whatever he wants? What message do you want to tell to this young kid?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's all about trying, but also surrounding yourself with people who have who have more experience than you, right? Like I always try to talk with other founders that are just a step or two ahead of me, right? Because I think those are the people that you can probably learn the most because they were where you were a year ago or two or a few years ago. And I have a network of founders that I always consult with, and the ones that were just a step or two ahead of me are the ones that I always see like they know exactly what I'm going through. And I think, if you're somebody that just now kind of like thinking about what you want to do, try to surround yourself with people with more experience and see how they made decisions when they were in your place. Because I think it's really helpful. I mean, obviously I have mentors that are in different phases in life, but I think to really know what people are going through, you need to be in their place, not too long ago. And I think that's what really helps me.
Yeah. How much has mentorship impacted and played out in your life?
Mentorship, a lot. No, I mean, I have a very large network of people that I consult with. People, my ex commander from the Air Force, somebody I talk to often, and every kind of like important step that I make. My co-founders are my people that I ask and consult with. Obviously, my family. I think there's my brothers. I think I'm fortunate enough to have a really strong network of people who want, wants to see me succeed, and they're on my side, and I use them.
Yeah, tap into that as much as possible, especially as a founder, which is a
Yeah,
very, very lonely job. Even if you have co-founders, it can
yeah,
be very lonely, and there's enough naysayers in the world that you need positive people that are going to impact you and drive you forward. That's what you need.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Wow, guy, thank you. This has been very impactful, very, very quick. And I always enjoy talking with you. And I always enjoy learning, seeing, first of all, your growth, your personal growth, and the growth of the company, and seeing how far it's going and coming along, and to see the new users that you're onboarding. And there's no doubt that, all the people that are listening to this, I'm sure are going to, first of all, resonate with the problem. And hopefully they'll listen to this and say, hey, you bring it to their HR, say, we need to implement this right away. But it obviously goes without saying that I am here for the journey of healthy for yourself all along the way, any way I could possibly be of help. And I know I want to wish you much, much continued success because, like you mentioned, you're here to make a bigger impact in this world. That's what you're here for. No other way. That's what you're here for, and that's what I know you're going to accomplish right away, 100%. So thank you, and thank you.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
You're
It
welcome.
was great.
Hold on.